Party removed, Yeltsin and Gorbachev began purging the heads of ministries and other state bodies of the old guard. Anatomy of a coup will return. Alexander Yakovlev, a Gorbachev advisor, arrives to install a new head of the news agency TASS. At a crowded meeting, the writers, many of whom were party members, listen impassively as he lectures them on truthful reporting.
Just give objective information. Watch out for those who want to muzzle you. Lead your own lives and serve the goals of freedom and democracy. If you want your agency to be called independent, let your work put that word into its title.
When Alexander Yakovlev asked if there were any questions, it was apparent that new thinking among some of the writers might take some time. A man asked how they should report on Saddam Hussein.
It's clear that Saddam Hussein is a dictator. But at TASS, we would have taken into account our relationship with a friendly country.
Yes, unfortunately, that did go on here at TASS, but we must stop it. Comrades, let's agree on one thing. I've been saying the same thing for the last 6 years, and I'm tired of it. Tell the truth. That's your way of being independent.
With some ministries, Boris Yeltsin wanted to go further to establish Russian control. Soon after the coup, he installed his own ministries in Gosplan, the state planning agency, even though it was a union ministry. There were accusations he was exceeding his powers. The ministers had to be withdrawn.
Of course, we had to make quick decisions. And the need to make quick decisions forced us to use the people and the resources who were actually able to effect the transfer of the administration to the country's new economic leadership in a very short space of time. As for those fears about Russian control, I think the few days which followed showed that Russia had no such intentions and that these fears were quite unjustified.
Yeltsin's actions fueled fear in the republics that a communist state might be replaced by a domineering Russia. In the victory celebrations over the coup, the republics detected traces of Russian nationalism, and some of their leaders registered alarm.
It's just not fair to say it was only Moscow that took part in fighting the coup. We're also concerned that if we're to be part of a union on a federal basis, why have only Russian ministers been appointed? Why does the president insist on the prime minister being Russian?
It was the Ukraine which reacted first, wearing uniforms and bearing symbols of a long-denied national identity. The second largest republic declared its independence. The prospect of this resource-rich area leaving the Union appalled the Russians.
What in fact happened was that the Ukrainian leaders have, in effect, violated the treaty. According to the treaty, they should have held consultations with the other republics. So when they declared their sovereignty and independence, the Ukrainian leaders, I think, had a somewhat mistaken view of independence.
Boris Yeltsin and his advisors were genuinely shocked by the Ukraine's decision. The Baltic states leaving the Soviet Union was one thing, but the Ukraine, the breadbasket of Russia, was quite another. Yeltsin's response served only to confirm suspicions that out of the wreckage of communism, a resurgent Russia was emerging. Yeltsin issued a statement saying that borders might have to be redrawn. Suddenly, the euphoria over the defeat of the coup was dispelled by the specter of the Union, which was violently disintegrating. Alexander Rutskoy tried to answer why Boris Yeltsin issued the possibility of redrawing the boundaries with certain republics.
When it comes to full independence or the succession of this or that republic from the Soviet Union, our borders are purely symbolic because they're not fixed. But according to international law, if one country breaks away from another or from a union, a demarcation of borders is carried out. This law exists whether we like it or not. So such a demarcation of borders would have to take place.